By.
Message and data rates may apply. You may receive up to 4 messages a month, and you may text STOP to stop.
This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
My name is Dale Pazinski. I volunteer with United Way to help the homeless in my community learn computer skills and build a basic resume. I don't just wear the shirt, I live it.
Give, advocate, volunteer, Live United. Go to liveunited.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
You're tuned in to Money Matters Boston, 1120 AM WBNW. This is the Money Matters Radio Network, WBNW 1120 AM and W275 CM FM. Concord, Boston, the Money Matters Radio Network.
It happens all over Massachusetts.
Can you tie my shoes?
In every home and every community.
Be careful on your bike.
Learning can happen anytime, anywhere.
We'll see you at practice this weekend.
And no matter how learning takes place in your family's life, DESE is there as your partner. The Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. Never stop learning. Find out more at mass.gov/back-to-school.
Sponsored by the Massachusetts Department for Elementary and Secondary Education.
This is Tucker Silva with the Financial Exchange Show, and I'm joined today by estate planning attorney Todd Lutzke, a partner with the law firm of Cushing & Dolan with a master's in taxation. And today we're talking about choosing beneficiaries for your IRA. Todd, what is the best way to deal with qualified retirement plan assets, and can they be transferred to these irrevocable Medicaid trusts?
So this is a tough asset in general. When you're dealing with retirement plan assets, it's difficult from an estate planning standpoint or a Medicaid planning standpoint to deal with them. Why? Because they have both an income tax component and an estate tax component, right? They're taxable when you take them out, and when you die, they're subject to your estate tax. So the general way to do this would be, one, you can name the spouse as the beneficiary of the IRA, or you can name the kids the beneficiary of the IRA, or sometimes you can name the trust the beneficiary or the estate the beneficiary. But it all depends on the size of your estate, the size of the IRA. But the one thing you really can't do is you can't take the asset and transfer it to the irrevocable trust or revocable trust while you're living. Otherwise, it will create a income taxable event. So tough to plan for those in advance unless you name the estate the beneficiary.
Educate yourself about the estate planning process. Request your free copy of Todd's brand new guide called Why Name Your Estate an IRA Beneficiary right now by calling 866-848-5699. That's 848-5699, or you can request a copy from their website, legalexchangeshow.com.
The proceeding was paid for, and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing and Armstrong do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. Every single day, more than 2,000 U.S. companies face a cyber threat or attack. The Boston Red Sox in Fenway Park chose Centripetal as their official cyber network security partner to ensure the protection of their network and ballpark. Intelligence is the answer to protecting your network, and Centripetal is the global leader of intelligence-powered cybersecurity. The choice is yours. Are you going to be another one of those attacked companies? Or are you ready to experience a radical new cybersecurity solution? Find out why the Red Sox chose Centripetal at www.centripetal.ai.
This Veterans Day weekend, help honor all who have served this country. Join us on Saturday, November 9th for the 9th Annual Disabled American Veterans 5K Boston, proudly presented by Veterans Development Corporation. It's a run and walk to support the DAV Department of Massachusetts. Saturday, November 9th at DCR's Castle Island in South Boston. Let's honor all who have sacrificed for our freedom. Register or donate now at dav5k.boston. That's dav5k.boston.
To fully maximize your Social Security benefits, it's important to understand how Social Security may affect your taxes. Hi, this is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group, and when deciding to collect Social Security benefits, it's essential to consider how those benefits interact with your other income sources, your tax situation, and your long-term financial goals. As an example, if you have tax-free or after-tax options in retirement, you can structure your financial plan to manage your future tax burden. Collecting Social Security too early without careful planning could limit your ability ability to manage taxes later in life. Our new free guide is called Social Security and Taxes, and it unpacks these issues and more. Get your free copy today by calling 800-393-4001. That's 800-393-4001.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
As a busy mom, my to-do list is full.
While we can't add more hours to the day, we do have a great resource to help.
Go Red for Women has information to help you and your family live a healthier life.
Visit goredforwomen.org/momlife today.
The Financial Exchange is produced by Money Matters Radio and is hosted by employees of the Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. All opinions expressed are solely those of the hosts, do not reflect the opinions of Armstrong Advisory or anyone else. Investments can lose money. This program does not offer any specific financial or investment advice. Please consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong Advisory and the advertisers heard on this program do not endorse each other or their services. Armstrong and Money Matters Radio do not compensate each other for referrals and are not affiliated. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Mike Armstrong. Your exclusive look at business and financial news affecting your day, your city, your world. Stay informed and up to date about economic and market trends, plus breaking business news every day. The Financial Exchange is a proud partner of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. Help us support our great American heroes by visiting DAV5K.Boston and making a donation today. The DAV 5K Boston is presented by Veterans Development Corporation. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Mike Armstrong.
Chuck, Mike, and Tucker with you, kicking off another week here on the Financial Exchange and getting into the heat of earnings season as we do. The economic data side of things, quite honestly, there's just not that much this week.
Good.
We've got existing home sales data on Wednesday at 10 a.m. Eastern. It's fine.
Fascinating stuff. Yep.
Not really going to move the needle either way. We've got jobless claims on Thursday. Been interesting to watch in the aftermath of the hurricanes that went through the Southeast, trying to figure out, hey, is this rise in jobless claims that we've seen due to the hurricanes or due to something else? And thus far, it looks like it's the hurricanes. We also get new home sales data on Thursday as well at 10 a.m. Friday, we get durable goods orders. Who else gets really excited about durable goods orders? Mark Fandetti, and that's about it.
Come on, he's not even here to defend himself.
What do you mean defend himself? I said that as a compliment.
Yeah, that's fair.
I didn't say that judgmentally.
Yeah.
I just said no one else gets excited about it, and he does, and that's why
failure.
That's why Mark's great. Is that he actually cares about this stuff. We also get some consumer sentiment data on Friday, an updated version of what we already received earlier in the month. So, again, just not that much from a data perspective. But from an earnings perspective,
there's a lot going on.
We do have a good amount going on here. So, thus far through earnings season, this is as of the close on last Friday, October 18th, only 14% of S&P 500 companies have reported thus far. So, not much. But when we look at what is on tap this week and next week, it's really the heart of earnings season. No one really reports on a Monday aside from small
Tuesday
companies that
through
no one care
Thursday
about.
is the big stuff.
We get GE, Danaher, and Philip Morris International tomorrow, as well as Verizon. I know that those aren't sexy names these days, but they're still all north of $150 billion in market cap. Like they're not small companies, and they're still important to the overall broader economy.
I'll go further. Raytheon and Lockheed Martin, again, smaller companies.
We already know they're selling plenty of missiles.
But yeah, I mean, massive defense companies that are strategically hugely important to the overall nation, reporting earnings on Tuesday.
Wednesday, we get a little bit of sexiness when Old Dominion Freight Line reports.
Yeah.
I meant Tesla. Sorry. Yeah. Tesla reports on Wednesday, along with Coca-Cola, T-Mobile, Thermo Fisher Scientific, IBM, who's still somehow worth $212 billion, ServiceNow, and NextEra Energy, and AT&T, who's still somehow worth $157 billion. Again, things that I just want to know the answer to. Thursday, again, long list of kind of mid-sized, still large cap names: S&P Global, Union Pacific, Honeywell, UPS. They're reporting. UPS, always interesting to hear what they're saying about the ongoing holiday shopping season.
Sure.
And so you've got some names reporting this week, and then next week you get all into basically anything artificial intelligence related.
Am I? Hold on a second.
Sure, yeah, we'll wait for you.
Amazon, what's going on there?
They were originally supposed to report this week. They're reporting next week now.
Come on.
I know trust me, I did the same thing last week, and it was embarrassing.
That's weird.
I know.
Yeah, I see them on my calendar for Thursday, but there's I
know.
I don't know.
I know.
Okay.
I told everyone last week that Amazon was this week, and now they're next week.
Got it. Okay.
So there's that. But Tesla does report this week. And if Tesla the last couple weeks, the thing that they've been getting all the buzz about, most of it bad buzz,
yes,
was the unveiling of their cyber taxi. What'd they end up calling it?
I don't know. It doesn't matter.
Don't even know, because it didn't impress anyone. The stock fell almost 10% the day after. So
stock's now down 11% for the year.
Is that where we stand at the moment?
Yeah, 11.5-ish is what I'm seeing as of this exact moment.
So ultimately what matters here is going to be what they actually report as far as, hey, how many cars did you sell? What are the prices that you're selling those at? And what are your margins? Because the problem that they've had for the last few quarters is, look, your comps don't look great in terms of negative year over year for total top line. You're selling those at lower prices, so your margins have been compressing significantly. And it's unclear if there's a growth engine that's out there as well. And so these are questions that Tesla is going to need to be able to answer. They have been selling, a decent number of these Cybertrucks, quite honestly. The estimates that are out there are that they've sold like somewhere in the ballpark of 40 to 45,000 of them already.
Yeah, saw one on my way in here.
The problem is, look, they're expensive vehicles. They start at $80,000 and work their way up well over $100,000. And there are only so many people that are buying cars in that price range. And based on the stories that we have seen online, it does appear that despite receiving nearly 2 million refundable $100 pre-orders for the Cybertruck, if you want to place an order on one now, you can get it delivered in October or November.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at just aside from the Cybertruck here, I'm looking at a Model 3 and just baseline, most common vehicle you sell.
Yeah.
Same story. You can get it between October and November of this year, meaning immediately. And you're talking about a $44,000 purchase price, which I don't know. That's below the average vehicle sale price, right? That's not terrible for an electric vehicle that a few years ago was well above the average for all vehicles. But I'll also say that doing some browsing on my own here, and I was just looking at like Auto Trader, looking at Tesla Model 3s, cheapest you can get for, let's call it under 45,000 miles, made in the last 3 years.
I think you're probably in like the low 20s.
Yeah, mid-20s. Mid-20s, like $25,000, $26,000 for a used one. And I think those two things, the fact that you can get one of these immediately, plus the used vehicle market on these things, speaks a little bit to the pressure that not only Tesla is having, but the entire EV market is facing right now, where
it's not
they frankly oversupplied. Yeah, it's not unique to Tesla. What is unique to Tesla is it's all they sell.
Correct. They don't have gas vehicles or hybrids to fall back on. Like, this is what they are. So I think it'll be interesting to see the actual Tesla numbers that come out and what we're seeing from them, just because this is a company that now has questions about really growth and margins, two things that, were in a pretty good spot for quite a while for them, but now have turned into, some things that are kind of cautionary in the last 2 or 3 quarters, I think is a fair way to look at it.
My question, or another question I have, did Tesla finally open up their charging network to non-Tesla vehicles? Like, I today can go do this, or they're going to do it in the future?
They have for at least a number of them. They're up and running at this point. I know GM is up and running on them. I believe Ford is as well, but Ford just issued a recall of their charger adapters because they can cause problems with the Ford EVs in terms of, I guess there's something where it's causing issues with the batteries not charging properly, and so it's a problem. But here's Tesla right now. In Q3 of 2022, Their operating margins were 16.71% for the last 12 months. Those margins are now been cut more than in half. They're down to 7.58.
So you're looking like a regular automaker.
Correct. So you're turning into a regular automaker as far as your overall margins. Trailing 12-month revenue is now at $95.32 billion. Second quarter last year was 94.03. Your revenue has flatlined over the last 15, 16 months now. Again, I'm just going through the metrics that are, again, not concerning like, hey, Tesla is going to go out of business, but
sure.
Hey, why are you valued at more than like every other automaker combined? Free cash flow is now at $1.7 billion trailing 12 months. Great, that's fine. You're free cash flow positive. In September of 22, free cash flow was $8.9 billion. So free cash flow has been reduced by 75%. You talk about net income, so the actual profit that you're generating. Right now it's at $12.3 billion. December of 22, Q4 of 22, it was $12.58 billion. Your profit has decreased over the last 2 years now. So these are the things that when we talk about Tesla and where the stock eventually ends up, hey, if you want to believe that Tesla is a $700 billion company, can't just be about the cars. That's where we are now. It can no longer be justified in any way, shape. Like before, you could at least say, hey, car sales are growing 40% year over year. The margins are fat. Like maybe they're different.
He needs to deliver on one of his wild ideas.
You either have to get like the cyber cab has to be a real thing
soon,
and not like 30 years from now.
Yeah.
Like by 2027, it's got to be a real thing, or you got to figure out something, with autonomy as it relates to all the other cars that you have. There has to be something else there, because the rest of the company looks fine, but fine doesn't make a $700 billion company selling 2 million vehicles a year. Like that's where we are. Otherwise, hey, I'm Toyota. I sell 10 million vehicles a year, and mine can stay in their lanes on the highway also, and I'm only worth $223 billion. Something's got to give, and it's probably not Toyota being worth $2 trillion.
Right.
Let's take a quick break here. When we come back, we'll talk about the fine folks at Goldman Sachs and why they're projecting just a 3% annual return on the S&P 500 over the next 10 years. They've been to the future, and this is what they think is going to happen.
If you missed any of today's show, catch up whenever you want on our YouTube page. Find daily show segments and full shows. Just go to youtube.com and search for The Financial Exchange. This is your home for breaking business and financial news. This is The Financial Exchange Radio Network. Your business tip of the day is brought to you by SAB Solutions Incorporated, serving businesses with real-time inventory management. Visit them online at sabsolutionsma.com. Here's General Sales Manager Toby Burrell.
One of the most exciting parts of my job is to evaluate a company's needs. We do a comprehensive analysis before we offer a specific plan. Recently, we were contacted by a billion-dollar global electrical contractor who had an urgent tracking issue that was affecting both incoming and outgoing products. We implemented a cloud-based stockroom tracking application that included mobile computers and that allowed the company's management's visibility into all available materials for their respective requirements. This solution was so successful that we have provided it to additional clients.
Let SAB Solutions be your trusted advisor when it comes to managing your inventory. Clients have relied on their expertise for more than 15 years, and they can help you too. Visit sabsolutionsma.com for more information. That's sabsolutionsma.com.
To fully maximize your Social Security benefits, it's important to understand how Social Security may affect your taxes. Hi, this is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group, and when deciding to collect Social Security benefits, it's essential to consider how those benefits interact with your other income sources, your tax situation, and your long-term financial goals. As an example, if you have tax-free or after-tax options in retirement, you can structure your financial plan to manage your future tax burden. Collecting Social Security too early without careful planning could limit your ability flexibility to manage taxes later in life. Our new free guide is called Social Security and Taxes, and it unpacks these issues and more. Get your free copy today by calling 800-393-4001. That's 800-393-4001.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. Fall is in full swing. The leaves are changing, the days are getting shorter, and the cold is inching closer. Don't let the prospect of darkness at 4 p.m. get you down, because your next incredible vacation is just a click away. The U.S. Virgin Islands are St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John. Enjoy one or all three and experience rich history, world-class cuisine, a wide variety of water sports, and the most pristine beaches anywhere in the world. Go to visitusvi.com and check out the American Caribbean, where you'll find all the information you need to book a trip you'll never forget. Upon arrival, you'll fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. Travel to and from New England is simple, and your stay will be hassle-free because this is the American Caribbean. There's no passport required and no money to exchange. Whether it's a romantic getaway or a family vacation, make your plans now to get out of the cold and head to America's Caribbean paradise. Go to visitusvi.com and book your trip of a lifetime today. That's visitusvi.com.
Hey, listen, are you a 50-year-old person looking for term life insurance? Then you need to talk to Bob. Bob specializes in helping people find $1 million or more of term life insurance for a couple of $100 a month. Look, you need to know there's a price war in the term life insurance business, and you may be paying too much. Call Bob, and he'll shop and see how much money he can save you. Look, this could be the last term life insurance policy you ever have. Your rates are guaranteed for the next 20 years. That's right, guaranteed level rates for the next 20 years. And if you're a smoker or your health is not perfect, Bob has great rates for you too. So for $1 million of term life insurance coverage for a couple of $100 a month, call Bob right now. 800-965-7987. 800-965-7987. 800-965-7987. That's 800-965-7987. Paid for by Term Direct.
Text us 617-362-1385 with your comments and questions about today's show. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
This segment of the Financial Exchange is brought to you in part by the U.S. Virgin Islands Department of Tourism. The U.S. Virgin Islands are St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John. Now's the time to start looking at a fabulous holiday vacation, and there's no better place than the U.S. Virgin Islands. Enjoy perfect weather, world-class dining, incredible beaches, and a vibrant nightlife. No passport is needed. There's no money to exchange. Take your next vacation in America's Caribbean paradise, the United States Virgin Islands. Go to visitusvi.com to book your trip. That's visitusvi.com.
Mike, so Goldman Sachs sent a bunch of their investment bankers 10 years forward in the future using their proprietary time machine technology.
They did.
And they came back and said, hey, we think the S&P 500 is going to return just 3% per year over the next decade. Now, Goldman Sachs does not actually have a time machine. They didn't actually do this. But
and if they did, can you imagine anything more boring to predict than what the S&P 500 is going to do over the next decade?
What do you mean? That's like the most exciting thing that you could do. Do you know how much money you could make if you could
make
predict
a killing
exactly what the market's going to do for the next decade?
Yeah, you can make a lot of money.
Holy cow! Like, my goodness. In any case, if the S&P only returns 3% a year over the next decade, that puts it in the 7th percentile of returns for decade-long periods historically.
Going back to what, like 1940s, 50s, 60s?
I think this actually goes back to like the 1920s using the data that they have.
Okay.
1930.
So when you run
S&P 500 when it was called something else.
Rolling 10-year periods, this would put you very close to the bottom of them if we did get here.
Correct. On the other hand, for the last 10 years, the S&P 500 has returned about 13% a year. That is in the 75th percentile for historical returns.
I would have guessed higher.
No, there have been higher ones actually.
Yeah.
Quite a few. And so ultimately, it's something where, look, none of us know what the returns are going to be over the next 10. And I think this is something important also, that even as you're going through it, it's not easy. I mean, look back at the last 10 years, which started in 2014, and think about all the stuff that we could gnash our teeth about during that time period. It's not something where you just sit there and say, well, I'll just set it and forget it, and it's, an easy... No, like, as much as all of us talk about, hey, just don't look at your portfolio and, let the market do its thing, we're all human. We all, see the news. Oh, gee, Russia invaded Ukraine. We're really nervous about this. Hey, there's an election coming up. I'm so nervous about this. Hey, COVID is happening in China. Do you think this means anything? Like, we've all been through all this stuff. And as you're going through it, it's hard to remain rational. And also, by the way, there's no guarantee that even if the same stuff happens over the next 10 years, like let's say you have the exact same things happen. It's Groundhog Day.
Yeah,
the market,
deficit goes up another 40%.
The market might not perform the exact same way, even in the same set of circumstances. You could be like, well, look, I'll just hold out, and maybe the market does return 3%.
I have a few takeaways from this. I mean, one, this is a 3%. Who knows? Nobody knows. Good as guess as any other, although well below averages over any period of time. This is one of those areas, you know the phrase or the disclosure that's on every single investment you've ever looked at, which is past performance is not indicative of future results. In the case of like broad-based indices, you can almost take it like the reason Goldman Sachs feels this way is because actually the past performance over the last decade in U.S. equities makes the future results even more difficult to accomplish.
Correct.
You could take it to the step further, saying like past performance might actually be negatively correlated to future results in these cases. The other piece I would add to all of this is if you have built yourself some sort of financial projection and financial plan, or if you work with a professional who does so for you, one of the first questions you should ask about those projections are, what are you assuming my money will grow at over the lifetime of this? If somebody's not tested, like I'll tell you, if the markets actually do return only 3% over the next decade, or let's take that a step further. Like let's say they only do 3% over a couple of decades, which would be almost unheard of. There are a lot of financial plans that I've personally seen that are not going to work.
Correct.
Like they are going to fail in spectacular fashion. There would be pension funds that would not be able to keep pace. There would be really big problems if U.S. equities can only perform at 3% for an extended period of time, basically not beating inflation. And so that's the only addition I have on top of all this is, this is interesting conjecture, but to bring it home to the regular person out there, if markets only do 3% for a prolonged period of time, you better hope you have a whole lot more saved than you were anticipating needing, because it's going to stretch you thin.
And none of this is to say that the market, like none of us know what the next 10 years actually holds. That's what makes it both so, like on one hand, kind of exciting, but on the other hand, like I'm gonna throw up. Like it's it's like none of us know what's gonna happen. It's just it's kind of nerve-wracking.
Yeah, sure.
But ultimately, I come back to this over and over with investing. And I'm specifically saying investing and not trading, because those are fundamentally different things. And I think oftentimes we get confused talking about them. If you are investing in anything, number one thing that you have to do is say, look, I need to match, my liabilities when I need money to what I actually own. And stocks are a horrible vehicle for matching liabilities in the next decade. Like if you need money in the next 10 years, it shouldn't be anywhere near the stock market. Really shouldn't be. I mean, you can make a case like 5 to 10 years. Okay, like, yeah, that money you maybe could if you have a high risk tolerance.
Sure.
But otherwise, what are you really doing? I mean, you have no idea. Just because the last, 15 years has made you feel that nothing can go wrong, and if you buy the dip, it's always going to work out. There are a litany of market periods where buying the dip was like the worst thing you could do.
Yeah, because it dipped another 50%.
Not for the long term, but for the next 5 to 10 years. It was an awful decision. Like, if you bought the dip in 2001 on the NASDAQ, it took you like 14 years to get back. Quick break here. When we come back, we got Wall Street Watch, and we're talking Boeing.
Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter @TFE Show. Breaking business news is always first, right here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Let's talk LDL. AKA bad cholesterol. The higher your LDL cholesterol, the higher your risk of a heart attack or stroke. Your health matters. Know your number. Talk to your doctor and get your cholesterol checked. And learn how to help lower your LDL bad cholesterol. Because your health is in your hands. Find out more at heart.org/LDL.
Congress is poised to pass a bill to keep AM radio in cars. But time is running out. 82 million Americans risk losing the news, sports, talk, traffic, and vital emergency information they rely on. Text AM to 52886 and tell Congress to pass this bill now.
Message and data rates may apply. You may receive up to 4 messages a month, and you may text STOP to stop.
This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
Naming your estate the beneficiary of an IRA or life insurance policy can offer significant benefits to your overall planning. Cushing & Dolan's new monthly guide will help you understand why beneficiary designations are a critically important part of your estate plan, especially if you want your assets to be distributed efficiently and protected from probate or the nursing home. They can also reduce the possibility of creating any income tax issues on your required minimum distributions. Call Cushing & Dolan right now at 866-848-5699 and ask for their new guide called Why Name Your Estate an IRA Beneficiary. There's nothing more important than protecting your assets and providing lifelong comfort for your family. Call today at 866-848-5699. That number again is 866-848-5699. Or you can request the guide online at LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. Fall is in full swing. The leaves are changing, the days are getting shorter, and the cold is inching closer. Don't let the prospect of darkness at 4 p.m. get you down, because your next incredible vacation is just a click away. The U.S. Virgin Islands are St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John. Enjoy one or all three and experience rich history, world-class cuisine, a wide variety of water sports, and the most pristine beaches anywhere in the world. Go to visitusvi.com and check out the American Caribbean, where you'll find all the information you need to book a trip you'll never forget. Upon arrival, you'll fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. Travel to and from New England is simple, and your stay will be hassle-free because this is the American Caribbean. There's no passport required and no money to exchange. Whether it's a romantic getaway or a family vacation, make your plans now to get out of the cold and head to America's Caribbean paradise. Go to visitusvi.com and book your trip of a lifetime today. That's visitusvi.com.
Hi, this is Chuck and Mike from the Armstrong Advisory Group, and we have a guide this month titled Social Security and Taxes. Mike, first question to ask, how is Social Security taxation determined?
Well, it's dependent on all of your total income that you have in retirement when collecting Social Security. And they include the Social Security benefits in that calculation. But, generally speaking, if your only income is coming from Social Security, very little of it, if any, will actually be taxed when you go to file your return. On the other hand, if you have RMDs, maybe you're still working, you have capital gains, then it's possible that up to 85% could be taxed of your Social Security benefit by the federal government.
And in terms of the tax rate that you would pay on that portion that is taxed, how does that work?
Yeah, pretty simply, it's going to knock up against your regular brackets. And so we have the graduated income tax brackets, and you'll include that in the calculation of your adjusted gross income. Obviously, speak with a tax professional in regard to all of that. But then there's on the state level a bunch of differences too, because some states include Social Security income in taxation, others do not. Some include IRA distributions or pension distributions, others do not in their calculations. And so it gets more granular when you get to the state-to-state state level, other than those few states that don't have any income tax.
Our guide this month is titled Social Security and Taxes, and the way to request it is by calling 800-393-4001. There's a whole bunch of this information in there and more that we didn't discuss. Again, this guide is titled Social Security and Taxes, and the number to call to request it is 800-393-4001.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. Time now for Wall Street Watch. A complete look at what's moving markets so far today, right here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Markets are in mixed territory, relatively quiet as investors ready for a big week of third quarter earnings, where major names including Tesla, Coca-Cola, and many more are slated to report their results. Right now, the Dow is off by just over 0.33% or 170 points. S&P 500 is off by 9 points, and the Nasdaq is edging 13 points higher. Russell 2000 is down nearly 0.2%. 10-year Treasury yield up by 8 basis points this morning at 4.15%, and crude oil up 1.33%, trading just above $70 a barrel. Boeing shares up by 4% following news that the plane maker and leaders of its machinists union reached a tentative deal that could end the strike that has halted most of its production. Chuck and Mike will have more on Boeing coming up here in a matter of moments. Sticking with air travel, Spirit Airlines stock jumping by 46% after the struggling budget carrier received a debt refinancing extension. Meanwhile, the Wall Street Journal is reporting that activist investor Starboard Value has taken a sizable stake in consumer products company Kenvue in order to make changes to boost the stock price. Kenvue was previously spun out of Johnson & Johnson last year. That stock today is up by 6.5%. Elsewhere, Bloomberg is reporting that Cigna has revived efforts to buy rival health insurer Humana. Talks still, however, remain in early stages. Cigna down by 4%, while Humana stock is up by 1%. And UPS was downgraded to underweight from equal weight at Barclays, where the bank said it sees risks to the package delivery company's earnings, as well as competition from Amazon. UPS down by 2%. I'm Tucker Silva, and that's Wall Street Watch.
Let's see, Mike. Boeing and this union, I know Tucker referenced it briefly there. Quote from the union saying that this deal warrants presenting to the members and is worthy of your consideration. This on the back of the previous one being rejected, 95% to 5%.
Sometimes, we've had a few of these big strikes over the last several years, and sometimes the union leadership will come out and come up with a statement like, we fought really hard for these benefits. We think that this is the best deal or a great deal for our members, and
this is like
looking forward to presenting it to our union. This is like,
see what you think about this one, guys.
You rejected the last one by 95%, so we don't want to get shot if you guys hate this one too. I have no idea if this will get passed. It has been, 6 weeks now that the union has been on strike. I would think it more likely than not that this will, in fact, go through, given that it's the second vote that has come to pass on this and has been beefed up a little bit. But, wow, I don't think it's a certainty by any stretch.
Just to put this in perspective, the union has 33,000 members, and their wages average about $75,000 a year. 35% bump there takes you up to about $101,250.
Mm-hmm.
So, you're talking about a pretty substantial bump here. And again, I'm just thinking this out as far as, and I'm not saying this is good, bad, or whatever. I'm just saying that this is. When you think about how airplanes are sold, and I know that most of you don't just wake up in the morning and you're like, man, I love to think about how airplanes are sold. But just bear with me for a moment. If you are United and you're flying a 737 right now, the decision to buy a new model and which model you buy is based on two things. Number one, hey, have I stretched this current plane as long as it possibly can? Because you're talking about tens of millions of dollars.
Sure.
Most of the time that includes a mid-cycle refurbishment, usually when the plane's about 15 years old. Planes generally last 25 to 30 years. That's the typical life cycle of a plane. But the other one then, in terms of, what plane do I buy to replace it, is, hey, when I am buying new planes, the reason that I might do so before that 30-year period is up is because I can get incremental efficiency improvements that allow me to expand my margins. The single biggest cost for any airline is fuel. So if you look at it and Boeing comes out with, the 737 MAX and they're like, hey, this is, 10% more fuel efficient than the old 737, that is a huge upgrade for United to make in terms of their bottom line. Yes, it hurts in terms of the capital outlay, but they might lease the planes. There's all kinds of ways you can depreciate. Like, the accountants will figure that out.
Especially if I don't have to retrain all my pilots on it.
Correct. But here's the thing. If Boeing is seeing its labor costs go up by 35%, and you better believe that just like any other business, Boeing's labor costs are the biggest line item for them. I know that I just said it was different for, airlines because it is there. But with just about any other business, it's, hey, your labor costs are the biggest input. Your labor costs are going up by 35%. Can you sell your planes for the same price you used to?
Presumably not. It's not a 35% increase, but it's an increase.
When airplane manufacturers build in their projections for their airplanes, they know they're going to sell the 737 MAX for 25 to 30 years. Like, they have this lifespan, and they say, okay, here's what we anticipate our labor costs changing over the course of that lifespan. Here's how much, union negotiations typically see the cost increase. Like, they build this in. They're not dumb either. They don't just say, okay, none of this is going to happen. But remember, when Boeing came out with the 737 MAX, it was 2016, 2017 when they released that plane.
Far less in the way of labor pressures.
When you are running your projections and again, when you actually think about, like, that plane came out in, I think, 2016 or 2017. The decision to actually build that plane was made in 2010. Boeing might be sitting there saying, okay, we think our, labor costs are going to go up 4% a year or 5% a year. And now you got a 4-year period where you just printed a 9. In order for Boeing to make that plane profitable in the long run, they're going to have to raise prices as well, which means one of two things. You're not selling as many planes, or if you are selling planes to, United, Southwest, whoever it might be, their margins become pressured and they got to raise fares. Like, that's where you end up on all of this in my book.
Which, I mean, look at the already existing profit line pressure on major airlines. Right? We have one that's on the verge of bankruptcy. We have JetBlue falling way far behind.
Southwest is kind of a mess.
Southwest basically saying we have to restructure our entire model of doing things. So, yeah, this is already a pressured industry on a number of fronts. But we will see where this deal goes. I think they're voting this week, Wednesday, Thursday maybe. In addition to that, they bumped up the one-time ratification bonus to $7,000. They bumped up some more 401k contributions, but the pension piece remains off the table. That piece is not being moved on from what I can see. Really, regardless of the pressure, Boeing does not seem willing to move on that one.
If this doesn't get approved, which I have no idea how this is going to go. Like,
again, last one lost by 95% voted against it.
Now, this is an extra 2% a year, pretty much, 2.5% a year in wage growth. So, like, that's meaningful. But if this doesn't end up passing, I don't know where Boeing goes at this point. Like, it's a real problem.
Yeah, at the same time, regardless of the labor deal, Boeing's new CEO is needing to take some pretty critical looks at the business itself, which you can assure yourself this was all going on before Kelly Ortberg was there too. But, I mean, realistically, they are looking at some significant business lines that they might be looking to exit over the next few years. They have tried unsuccessfully to sell a rocket joint venture that it shares with Lockheed Martin. They've been looking at some U.S. government.
Who do you sell that to other than Lockheed Martin?
Just Lockheed. There's no one else, which is why you can't sell it. Military refueling tanker and Air Force One replacements on their jets. They're having a tough time with those. They reached a deal last week to offload this small defense subsidiary that makes surveillance equipment for the U.S. military. So between that plus what are they raising? $10 billion in equity on their shares? You are looking at a company that is rapidly trying to plug some holes from their sinking ship right now, and it's not getting this deal done. Again, I don't know if it gets done or not, but if it does not, it puts that additional pressure on them when it comes to the all-important credit quality of their bonds and not getting downgraded to junk, among other problems that they face.
Let's take a quick break here. When we come back, we'll talk about this piece. I actually saw this last night. This is always a great thing to read as you're going to bed on a Sunday. But I literally saw this. I knew who wrote it before I even opened it. Here's why inflation may look like it's easing, but is still a huge problem. We'll talk about that when we come back.
Find daily interviews and full shows of the Financial Exchange on our YouTube page. Like us on YouTube and get caught up on anything and everything you might have missed. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
To fully maximize your Social Security benefits, it's important to understand how Social Security may affect your taxes. Hi, this is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group, and when deciding to collect Social Security benefits, it's essential to consider how those benefits interact with your other income sources, your tax situation, and your long-term financial goals. As an example, if you have tax-free or after-tax options in retirement, you can structure your financial plan to manage your future tax burden. Collecting Social Security too early without careful planning could limit your ability to manage taxes later in life. Our new free guide is called Social Security and Taxes, and it unpacks these issues and more. Get your free copy today by calling 800-393-4001. That's 800-393-4001.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. Fall is in full swing. The leaves are changing, the days are getting shorter, and the cold is inching closer. Don't let the prospect of darkness at 4 p.m. get you down, because your next incredible vacation is just a click away. The U.S. Virgin Islands are St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John. Enjoy one or all three and experience rich history, world-class cuisine, a wide variety of water sports, and the most pristine beaches anywhere in the world. Go to visitusvi.com and check out the American Caribbean, where you'll find all the information you need to book a trip you'll never forget. Upon arrival, you'll fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. Travel to and from New England is simple, and your stay will be hassle-free because this is the American Caribbean. There's no passport required and no money to exchange. Whether it's a romantic getaway or a family vacation, make your plans now to get out of the cold and head to America's Caribbean paradise. Go to visitusvi.com and book your trip of a lifetime today. That's visitusvi.com. Spouses generally serve as the beneficiary to your IRA or life insurance policy, but naming your estate the beneficiary has quite a few benefits. Cushing & Dolan are experts in elder law, and they can help you protect your assets from probate and the nursing home. By naming your estate as a beneficiary, you can avoid the probate process, lessen the chance of creating any income tax issues on your RMDs, and enjoy enhanced estate tax reduction. Call Cushing & Dolan right now at 866-848-5699 and ask for their brand new guide called Why Name Your Estate an IRA Beneficiary. Learn about these benefits and others and provide peace of mind for you and your family during your retirement years. That number again is 866-848-5699. Or you can request the guide online by visiting our website at LegalExchangeShow.com. That's LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
Are you over the age of 50? Want peace of mind and financial security for your family? Here's an important message to you from Senior Care USA. The average funeral now costs over $10,000. That leaves your loved ones the burden of paying your debts and funeral costs. Our plans start as low as $1 per day and will pay your family up to $30,000 to help pay for your funeral and other expenses. There are no medical exams, your rates will never increase, and your plan cannot be canceled, regardless of your medical conditions, as long as you make your premium payments. Get up to $30,000 in final expense insurance. Call now for free information. Just answer a few simple questions and get approved right over the phone in just a few minutes. Call right now.
Call 800-378-3818. 800-378-3818. 800-378-3818. That's 800-378-3818.
Miss any of the show? You can catch up at your convenience by visiting financialexchangeshow.com and clicking the on-demand icon, where you'll find all of our interviews and full shows. This is your home for the latest business and financial news in New England and around the country. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
All right, so we got a piece in CNBC. It's titled, "Here's Why Inflation May Look Like It's Easing But Is Still a Huge Problem." Number one, I really object to the use of that word huge there, because there are huge problems out there right now. The pace of inflation is not one of them. And when you cherry pick stuff to be like, well, egg prices are still up 87% in the last 4 years. Okay, you want to do like some cherry picking on some stuff? Fine. Like, do you want to talk about how over the last, and again, I'm just doing my own cherry picking, which again I think is dumb. Hey, did you know that gas prices are down 15% in the last year? Does that mean inflation is no problem?
Where are used cars?
Again, we could do this with all of the cherry picking that we want, but it doesn't do anyone any good. What we do know is that the rate of inflation right now, if you look at either the CPI or the PCE, so a couple different metrics that are out there, if you look at where they actually sit right now, CPI is at 2.4%, PCE is at 2.2%, and core CPI is elevated. And again, this is why I'm still like, hey, it's a problem. Core CPI is still at 3.3 year over year. So, yeah, it's still something that we need to pay attention to and not, dismiss as something that you can just, cut rates 1,000,000% and call it a day. But to say it's a huge problem is kind of disingenuous to the actual huge problems that exist today. One of which is, hey, what's going on with the labor market, and has it turned a corner, or is it still weakening, and we've just, had a little blip for a month or two?
Yeah, I find it to be a little bit disingenuous. If you want to write a piece about how inflation's still a huge problem and it's going to be showing up at the voter ballot box this year, I find that piece boring, but at least, not problematic. This one seems to be making an argument that watch out because inflation's just on the verge of coming right back, and then provides no evidence as to why that would happen. If you want to see inflation come, and then, by the way, blames the Fed in part for it, seemingly. If you want to make a case for inflation coming back, I see maybe two paths, and neither of them have much, if anything, to do with the Federal Reserve. One path would be the next president, with the help of Congress, passes a number of sweeping changes that put more money in people's pockets. We saw what happened with inflation when we did that in 2020 and 2021. It was the worst inflation we saw in 40 years. And both candidates on the trail have been talking about doing
tax cuts.
Exactly that. Well, tax cuts or stimulus from, either it's tax cuts from Trump or it's, stimulus from Harris.
Harris talking about tax cuts too.
Yeah, true.
Not to everyone.
Not to everybody, but yeah, tax cuts there too. So that could spark some inflation. I won't deny that, but that's not mentioned anywhere here. The other piece would be craziness in the Middle East and like $200 a barrel oil. Again, I'm not going to diminish that as an impossibility. It's always a possibility. But what's the likelihood of either of those things truly, genuinely happening? I don't know. I don't see it. And so I'm willing to continue to put, if inflation is not dead, which the author makes the case that it's not, I'm at least putting it way in the back seat, maybe in the trunk here in terms of my order of priorities at the moment.
You're putting inflation in the trunk?
In the trunk. Yeah.
You still drive a sedan?
I do, yeah, but it's more of a
small
hatchback.
trunk, Mike.
It's more of a hatchback.
It's a small trunk for all that inflation.
In the case of an emergency, I'll be able to access it.
But here's why this piece just really grinds my gears a little bit is, look, let's go back to March of 2018 just as an example. And actually, no, I'm sorry. I want to go just forward a little bit more. July of 18. Headline CPI is at 2.95%. Is anyone out there like, hey, inflation's out of control and a huge problem?
No, because it hadn't been for 20 years, so nobody cared about it. And then because we've dealt with it in the last couple, it's just the easiest thing to write about.
Right, like you're fighting the last battle here. I'm not saying it like you'd never have to worry about it, but if you're going to look at the data that's out there, and by the way, let's say you don't like U.S. government data. Let's say you're like, hey, they're cooking the books. Like they're actually cooking them. Do you know how to cook a cookbook? Yeah, you cook a cookbook. Let's say you like that. Anyone remember Trueflation from back in 2021 and 22? It's a company they came out.
Yeah, they did their own private data.
They had
said
like
it was
private
way
data
higher.
and pricing, not way higher even. They said that inflation got to like 11% instead of 9%.
Yeah.
Trueflation right now has inflation in the U.S. over the last 12 months running at 2.21%. So if you don't believe government data and you're like, yeah, those Trueflation guys had it right back in 2021 and 22, they're saying it's 2.2 over the last year now. So I'll pull from multiple data sources, and again, let's at least be intellectually honest about this is where I'm going.
Spouses generally serve as the beneficiary to your IRA or life insurance policy, but naming your estate the beneficiary has quite a few benefits. Cushing & Dolan are experts in elder law, and they can help you protect your assets from probate and the nursing home. By naming your estate as a beneficiary, you can avoid the probate process, lessen the chance of creating any income tax issues on your RMDs, and enjoy enhanced estate tax reduction. Call Cushing & Dolan right now at 866-848-5699. And as for their brand new guide called Why Name Your Estate an IRA Beneficiary. Learn about these benefits and others and provide peace of mind for you and your family during your retirement years. That number again is 866-848-5699, or you can request the guide from their website, legalexchangeshow.com.
The proceeding was paid for, and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Armstrong do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
I gotta say, I've been driving around a lot the last few days, and the Halloween decorations are fantastic this year.
They are.
And I don't remember anything like this from when I was a kid. You know, like, when I was a kid, it was people had pumpkins, you know, maybe had some spider webs and stuff like that, but
The big advent of the last few years has been giant structures for Halloween.
Yeah, so a big
the
old
giant
skeleton yesterday, yeah.
the giant inflatables, even the inflatable. Like, that's the biggest change I can remember
I'm
from costumes.
anti-inflatable.
Okay,
Yeah,
I disagree.
I don't.
But the biggest change that I can tell from like trick or treating when I was a kid compared to today, in addition to far fewer homemade costumes, would be the inflatable costumes, which I find
inflatable
a little annoying, but generally, yeah, you know which ones I'm talking about. The ones that have the little fan on the back that like inflate you and make you giant.
No, I've never seen these.
You've never seen one of these?
Like, you actually wear this?
Yes.
No,
Yes.
I've never seen this.
So, like, they have dinosaurs that the whole thing puffs up around you and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Like those did not exist when we were kids, obviously, and I don't know. This piece seems to decry it a little bit. Whatever. If people want to spend their money on stupid decorations, who gives a darn?
If people want to have a little bit of fun, sorry for partying. You know, like, you know, I'm driving past my favorite ones are the ones of like witches mishaps where it's like, you know, someone has like the witch that flew into the side of their house and splatted her. Like,
classic.
I always enjoy those personally. But yeah, if you're gonna get all bah humbug on Halloween, I don't know. You just got to get a little spooky with it, you know? It's no big problem. No big deal. Let's take a quick break. We got more Financial Exchange coming up in a bit.
Cardiovascular disease is the #1 killer of women,
taking the lives of 1 in 3.
That's more than all forms of cancer combined.
For too long, heart disease and stroke have taken the lives of the women we love.
But we're not giving up because we have something better,
stronger, more powerful.
We have each other.
When we come together and go red,
the more power we have against our greatest health threat.
Visit GoRedForWomen.org today to learn more.
Are you retired like me and you just found out you owe the IRS a ton of money? Well, what would your life be like if they took your retirement savings away from you? They can do it, and your property. If you owe the IRS back taxes or you haven't filed in a while, the Tax Relief Line is here to help you. They can stop the IRS from taking your retirement savings. If you qualify, you could have your tax bill reduced to zero. That's right. If you're retired and you owe the IRS a lot in back taxes, you could have your entire tax bill reduced to zero due. The IRS has now hired thousands of new employees, so they're ready to come after you. Don't let them take your retirement savings or property. Make this free call now.
800-251-2153. 800-251-2153. 800-251-2153. That's 800-251-2153.
Every single day, more than 2,000 U.S. companies face a cyber threat or attack. The Boston Red Sox in Fenway Park chose Centripetal as their official cyber network security partner to ensure the protection of their network and ballpark. Intelligence is the answer to protecting your network, and Centripetal is the global leader of intelligence-powered cybersecurity. The choice is yours. Are you going to be another one of those attacked companies? Or are you ready to experience a radical new cybersecurity solution? Find out why the Red Sox chose Centripetal at www.centripetal.ai.
This Veterans Day weekend, help honor all who have served this country. Join us on Saturday, November 9th for the 9th Annual Disabled American Veterans 5K Boston, proudly presented by Veterans Development Corporation. It's a run and walk to support the DAV Department of Massachusetts. Saturday, November 9th at DCR's Castle Island in South Boston. Let's honor all who have sacrificed for our freedom. Register or donate now at dav5k.boston. That's dav5k.boston.
This is the Money Matters Radio Network, WBNW 1120 AM and W275 CM FM. Concord, Boston, the Money Matters Radio Network.
This is Tucker Silva of the Financial Exchange Show, and I'm joined today by estate planning attorney Todd Lutzke, a partner with the law firm of Cushing & Dolan, with a master's in taxation. And today we're talking about choosing beneficiaries for your IRA. Todd, what is the best way to set up designated beneficiaries for qualified plan assets from both a Medicaid and estate tax planning perspective for a married couple?
Generally, for a married couple, you have several choices. The most commonly used one is you're going to make the surviving spouse the designated beneficiary. It doesn't shelter assets from estate taxes. It just passes to the surviving spouse. It avoids probate, and it's probably the best way to go from an income tax perspective, not necessarily an estate tax perspective. Another way would be you could technically name the trust the beneficiary of the IRA when you pass. That at least will help it shelter assets for estate tax purposes and still provide for the surviving spouse. But from a Medicaid perspective, it will then protect it from the nursing home, but it'll take 5 years. Perhaps the newest and best way to do this would be to name the estate the beneficiary, provided you are over age 73 or over. That way, it goes through probate into the will. It is sheltered for estate taxes. It is immediately protected from the cost of long-term care for the surviving spouse, and the surviving spouse has access to it as well.
Educate yourself about the estate planning process. Request your free copy of Todd's brand new guide, Why Name Your Estate an IRA Beneficiary, right now by calling 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699. Or you can request a copy from their website, legalexchangeshow.com.
The proceeding was paid for, and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and/or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Armstrong do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. Fall is in full swing. The leaves are changing, the days are getting shorter, and the cold is inching closer. Don't let the prospect of darkness at 4 p.m. get you down, because your next incredible vacation is just a click away. The U.S. Virgin Islands are St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John. Enjoy one or all three and experience rich history, world-class cuisine, a wide variety of water sports, and the most pristine beaches anywhere in the world. Go to visitusvi.com and check out the American Caribbean, where you'll find all the information you need to book a trip you'll never forget. Upon arrival, you'll fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. Travel to and from New England is simple, and your stay will be hassle-free because this is the American Caribbean. There's no passport required and no money to exchange. Whether it's a romantic getaway or a family vacation, make your plans now to get out of the cold and head to America's Caribbean paradise. Go to visitusvi.com and book your trip of a lifetime today. That's visitusvi.com.
Here at the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, we are committed to all students not only attending, but succeeding at school. Your presence is powerful. Share why you attend at doe.mass.edu.
Sponsored by the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education.
Environmental nonprofit Ocean River Institute is working with communities to tackle climate change with nature-based solutions that feature slowing water down and building more soil with grasses and plants. Research indicates that people acting in their own neighborhoods can build an inch of soil in a year and slow sea level rise down by as much as 25%. Please visit oceanriver.org for more information on opportunities to make a difference and go the distance for savvy stewardship of a greener and bluer planet Earth.
Last year, we introduced you to Mark Vaughter, CEO of Veterans Development Corporation. Mark is a career military man, and we're proud to have him back as the presenting sponsor of the 2024 DAV 5K Boston.
I'm a proud partner of the Disabled American Veterans, Department of Massachusetts. The DAV does incredible work, and it was one of the first organizations I became familiar with after my military service ended in 1984. As I built my company, Veterans Development Corporation, I did it knowing that I'd be giving back to fellow vets who need jobs, support services, medical supplies, and much more. I work with disabled veterans every day, and is one of the key reasons why I'm such a big supporter of Dan Stack and the Disabled American Veterans, Department of Massachusetts, in this year's DAV 5K Boston. Please join me in supporting this tremendous cause by taking part in this year's event or by making a donation to the DAV.
Veterans Development Corporation is proud to be the presenting sponsor of this year's DAV 5K, taking place on Saturday, November 9th at Fort Independence in South Boston. To register for this year's race, visit dav5k.boston.
As a busy mom to 4 kids, my to-do list is full.
Trying to fit in exercise, eating right, and prioritizing self-care can feel next to impossible.
While we can't add more hours to the day, we do have a great resource to help.
Go Red for Women has easy tips, tools, and information to help you and your family live a healthier life.
So to all the moms, the aunts, grandmothers, and amazing women out there doing it all,
visit goredforwomen.org/momlife today.
You take care of them, Go Red for Women will take care of you.
The Financial Exchange is produced by Money Matters Radio and is hosted by employees of the Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. All opinions expressed are solely those of the hosts, do not reflect the opinions of Armstrong Advisory or anyone else. Investments can lose money. This program does not offer any specific financial or investment advice. Please consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong Advisory and the advertisers heard on this program do not endorse each other or their services. Armstrong and Money Matters Radio do not compensate each other for referrals and are not affiliated. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Mike Armstrong. Your exclusive look at business and financial news affecting your day, your city, your world. Stay informed and up to date about economic and market trends, plus breaking business news every day. The Financial Exchange is a proud partner of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. Help us support our great American heroes by visiting dav5k.boston and making a donation today. The DAV 5K Boston is presented by Veterans Development Corporation. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Mike Armstrong.
Kicking off hour 2 of the Financial Exchange here, Chuck, Mike, and Tucker with you. And we got stocks are they're slumping a little bit.
Schlumping.
They're slumping.
Don't need that word.
What do you mean? I think it's great.
Okay.
It's not a slump, it's a slump. It's just kind of like womp. You know, a slump, it's like kind of downbeaten, but a slump is like womp.
Yeah, I was going to say a slump would have to be a few days in a row.
Yeah, whereas a slump is just kind of you relax and droop.
Okay.
That's what stocks are doing now. They're relaxing and drooping.
Got it.
And the Dow is doing that to the tune of 292 points, about 0.75%. S&P is down 31 points, about 0.5%. The NASDAQ down 76 points, about 0.4% right now. One of the reasons for this, the 10-year Treasury selling off, continuing its upward move after the Fed started cutting short-term rates. 10-year is up to 4.17% now, up 9.5 basis points. We've got the oil moving up as well. West Texas Intermediate up 82 cents a barrel to $70.04. But the AAA national average for gas prices, still sliding, down another 0.2 cents to 3.17 5/10 cents as we continue to try to make one more run at $3 a gallon. We'll see if we can get there nationally. This is just a reminder that if you are listening to us in the Southeast, you're like, what the heck are those Yankees talking about? You know, gas is already below $3 a gallon here. Thank you. I'm glad to hear that it is. It's just not for us up here in, basically anywhere north of Virginia. Also, if you take a look at gold, up $11.10 an ounce to $27.41 10 cents. Yet another all-time high that we're making on the yellow metal. And so that's what we've got moving in markets today. We got stocks down, bonds down, gold up, oil up.
I don't know that there's much that I can think of that really shifts the narrative on interest rates anytime soon.
I mean, bad data would.
Yeah, I know, and that's kind of what I'm thinking is like, what bad data are we going to get? I guess we could get some really bad earnings forecasts. Like, nothing about the previous quarter is going to get you there. But if you get a couple companies saying, we're seeing some real weakness here, and they got to be big companies, but you get a couple companies saying, UPS tells you that they're seeing terrible freight volume for the next few
we don't
quarters.
need any planes anymore. We're going to covered wagon because the demand is so low.
You get a couple bad forecasts from giant chip companies or something like that. Maybe that does it. But other than that, we don't get a lot of data for the next few weeks here, and which we do is still kind of murky. So I don't see a huge catalyst for rates down anytime in the near future.
Mike, do you know that there is going to be a United States election?
I had unfortunately heard that.
It's in 15 days.
Yeah, indeed.
And there's a whole group of people who I'm just going to quote here from this is the New York Times, I believe. Quote, in Westport, Connecticut, a 35-year-old who works for an investment firm is holding off on making any financial investments until after the election. Across the country in Kenosha, Wisconsin, a man who works in sales said he would love to buy a house and get out of his rental, but with Election Day less than a month away, he can't possibly make such a colossal decision. Call it the election shopping slump. Slump is actually what they wrote. They didn't write slump. They should have. And basically what we end up with is, and you've seen this noted by a number of people in different industries,
including major executives of fairly large
airlines, automakers saying, hey, we're expecting some weakness around the election because I guess there's a large percentage of people that pretty much say, hey, I can't make any financial decision until the election happens. Now, in certain edge cases, I can actually understand this. As an example, if you are a business that is considering a major expansion, you might say, hey, I want to see if, there's any change in control of, the houses of Congress or, the presidency. Maybe I get some new tax credits or something like that come in that cause me to reshape how I would expand or not. I understand that completely.
Yep.
If you're buying a car, what are we really doing here?
Yeah, I don't really understand the interviews from, say, the 35-year-old in Westport, Connecticut who works in an investment firm or the man in Kenosha, Wisconsin.
Do you think that guy works for Bridgewater? Because that's the first thing that I thought of. Just given that Bridgewater is based right down there. I think it's either in Westport or, wherever. It's right down that way.
Could be.
I'm like, did they just interview some guy from Bridgewater, on his way out of the office or something?
So here's the other logical stuff that I could point to that would actually make sense here, because I'm just not sure I buy the argument that people are too apprehensive and nervous about the election to actually do shopping. But a few practical things here. I guess if you're looking to buy a home, I think this is misguided, but if you actually think Kamala Harris is going to deliver you a $25,000 tax credit to buy that home, then
sure,
maybe you put it off. Furthermore, just in terms of what we are seeing today, just like you turn on the TV or you drive down the highway or you browse the internet, generally speaking, we're slammed with ads for products. Right now, you're slammed with ads for politicians. So, I mean, the mere fact that more of our eyeballs are being spent on political ads rather than car ads, maybe it has more to do with that than it does anything about apprehension. Because I don't understand why somebody would be nervous about buying a mattress because of the election. And I have a really tough time connecting those things. But I do understand why you might see fewer mattress ads leading up to the election, because that mattress firm, I don't like the word mattress firm, that mattress company cannot afford as many ads this time of year, this time every 4 years, than they can during a regular October.
But just as an example, again, they have some great anecdotes in here. Susan Cordigan, who owns Big City Bride in Chicago, started noticing the trend a year ago when many of her clients conspicuously avoided picking dates in what is usually prime Chicago wedding season, October into early November. So, you say you're not going to get married?
I really love this woman.
I love you so much that I need to
not
wait
if Kamala Harris gets made
right,
elected.
What are we doing here? It's a wedding. I'm sorry. I'm usually at least kind of understanding about things.
I'm not understanding of this at all either, and so I'm trying to come up with other reasons that it could be true because it objectively appears true. I don't think that companies make these statements without them actually believing or actually seeing evidence that every 4 years their sales dip.
Well, so there's some interesting stuff that they actually found here. And one of them, hang on, I need to flip to the right page on this just to make sure that I have it right. Here we go. So this was looking at housing sales. And an analysis of 20 years of housing sales data in Los Angeles, Manhattan, and Miami found that sales dipped in the second half of even years. So not just presidential elections, but any election, and rebounded in odd years in the 12 months ending in November of each year. In even years, sales were down year over year by 5.5% in Los Angeles, 2.5% in Manhattan, and 2.6% in Miami. In the odd years, they were up by 4.6% in LA, 8.5% in Manhattan, and 10.2% in Miami. The pattern was not restricted to historically Democratic strongholds either, as it held in Suffolk County, New York, which typically votes Republican, with sales down 0.8% in election years and up by 0.8% in off years. So I don't know what's going on here. And look, maybe I'm the dummy. You know, maybe everyone out there is like, Chuck, you can't buy anything in November of an election year. Like, don't you know that? You can't do that. But, like, what happens if you buy a house in an election year and someone else gets elected? Usually you get to keep the house still.
Well, okay, but so 100%. And I think it's a dumb premise to delay a purchase. But I will admit that I talk to people all the time who are voting based on fear and express their fear frequently that if their candidate isn't elected, then the economy is going to fall apart and therefore my home price is going to fall apart. And I think that's dumb.
But I'm just expressing that, like, we can't be so afraid all the time, man. Like, here's the thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to go on a little tangent here. If you're afraid right now, like all like angsty and like your insides feel like Tony Romo speaks. If that's you right now in history, what would you have been like at any other point in history in the past? Because by just about any objective measure, outside of like a 5-year period in the 1990s, this is pretty much the best time to be alive in the history of the world. You think about the healthcare problems that we don't have to deal with right now. You think about the endless wars that have dominated human history and the sheer number of people that have died. And it's not to say that you aren't, seeing some wars going on right now. But my point is, if you could go back in time and say, I'd want to live there, I'm happy to point out all the things that you'd have to deal with then that you don't have to deal with today. And it's not to say that today's perfect. Like, look, if I could get rid of social media and make sure that like everyone never uses it ever again, I'd love to do that. If we could, find a way to actually, get back away from, kids needing 8,000 extracurricular activities every day in order to get into, college, I think that would be wonderful too. But there's so much stuff now that gives me hope compared to what the world used to be, that if all you see is the bad stuff, I just think you're doing yourself a disservice.
Yeah, it's traditionally a great way to get people to stop being nervous and anxious.
Tell them to stop being nervous and anxious. I know, that's why I'm doing it. No, honestly.
Yeah, look, I agree with you on all these fronts, but we clearly have something going on in society that is making people
it's
more
too much
anxious
information.
Today
It's too much information.
Yeah, it might be.
It's like
social media and too much information.
Don't stop listening to us,
but stop listening to everybody else.
Stop listening to everybody else. Let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll do trivia.
Breaking business and financial news first throughout the day. Only here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Last year, we introduced you to Mark Vaughter, CEO of Veterans Development Corporation. Mark is a career military man, and we're proud to have him back as the presenting sponsor of the 2024 DAV 5K Boston.
I am a proud member of a military family, including my father, Victor, and my brother Timmy. Serving my country was one of the greatest achievements of my life, and it's why I choose to give back to this special community. My father built Veterans Development Corporation, and I am honored to continue his legacy of working to help many disabled veterans and their families. It also gives me great pleasure to once again be the presenting sponsor of this year's DAV 5K Boston. I hope that by sharing my story, many other disabled veterans will be able to reach their goals once they conclude their service.
Veterans Development Corporation is proud to be the presenting sponsor of this year's DAV 5K, taking place on Saturday, November 9th at Fort Independence in South Boston. To register for this year's race, visit dav5k.boston.
As a busy mom to 4 kids, my to-do list is full.
Trying to fit in exercise, eating right, and prioritizing self-care can feel next to impossible.
While we can't add more hours to the day, we do have a great resource to help.
Go Red for Women has easy tips, tools, and information to help you and your family live a healthier life.
So to all the moms, the aunts, grandmothers, and amazing women out there doing it all,
visit goredforwomen.org/momlife today.
You take care of them, Go Red for Women will take care of you.
The ultimate Boston sports auction to benefit the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts is coming. Your chance to see the world champion Celtics, the Bruins, the Red Sox, and the Patriots, plus autographed merch from Pedro Martinez, Kristaps Porzingis, Brandon Carlo, and much more. One massive auction, 4 incredible experiences, and all to benefit the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. The auction begins on November 4th at 11 a.m. only here on Money Matters Radio AM 1120 and FM 102.9 WBNW.
To fully maximize your Social Security benefits, it's important to understand how Social Security may affect your taxes. Hi, this is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group, and when deciding to collect Social Security benefits, it's essential to consider how those benefits interact with your other income sources, your tax situation, and your long-term financial goals. As an example, if you have tax-free or after-tax options in retirement, you can structure your financial plan to manage your future tax burden. Collecting Social Security too early without careful planning could limit your ability to manage taxes later in life. Our new free guide is called Social Security and Taxes, and it unpacks these issues and more. Get your free copy today by calling 800-393-4001. That's 800-393-4001.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. Spouses generally serve as the beneficiary to your IRA or life insurance policy. But naming your estate the beneficiary has quite a few benefits. Cushing & Dolan are experts in elder law, and they can help you protect your assets from probate and the nursing home. By naming your estate as a beneficiary, you can avoid the probate process, lessen the chance of creating any income tax issues on your RMDs, and enjoy enhanced estate tax reduction. Call Cushing & Dolan right now at 866-848-5699 and ask for their brand new guide called Why Name Your Estate an IRA Beneficiary. Learn about these benefits and others and provide peace of mind for you and your family during your retirement years. That number again is 866-848-5699. Or you can request the guide online by visiting our website at LegalExchangeShow.com. That's LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. The Financial Exchange streams live on YouTube. Like our page and stay up to date on breaking business news all morning long. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Trivia brought to you by Applebee's. Take your friends or family to any area Applebee's and enjoy half-price late-night appetizers after 9 p.m., including boneless wings, spinach and artichoke dip, and warm pretzels dipped in pure cheese. And don't forget to join Club Applebee's to enjoy exclusive deals and specials. You'll get a free appetizer just for signing up. Now, that's eating good in the neighborhood. Void where prohibited. Dine in only. More candy trivia here for you on the show on the season 4 episode 17 of Friends. Joey becomes obsessed with the giant candy bar that Emily brings home for Ross from the airport. Trivia question today: what candy bar does Joey obsess over? Once again, what candy bar does Joey from Friends obsess over? Be the 7th person today to text us at 617-362-1385 with the correct answer, and you win a Financial Exchange Show t-shirt. and be registered to win a $100 gift card to Applebee's. Be sure to include the keyword Applebee's in your text, and we'll give away that Applebee's gift card on Friday's show. 617-362-1385, and the seventh correct response will be our winner. See complete contest rules at financialexchangeshow.com.
Mike, do you know where the name Applebee's comes from?
No.
Tucker, what about you?
No.
So it's not actually named after anyone named Appleby, interestingly enough. It was founded by Bill and T.J. Palmer back in 1980.
Okay.
And they wanted to name the restaurant Appleby just because they wanted to, but apparently it was already trademarked. So they also considered naming it Cinnamons and Peppers before they arrived at Applebee's, spelled with two E's instead of a Y.
Okay.
So it just has no meaning?
No.
Okay.
Okay.
I just find it kind of cool. I like to go through like origin stories of different restaurants and stuff like that. Like it's, I don't know, like Warby.
But is like there a thing called an Applebee? Is there a plant or spice somewhere that I'm not familiar with that's an Applebee?
It's a name I know, but I don't know. Text us at 617-362-1385 if you have any insight there. Mike, let's talk a little bit about auto insurance rates. We've clearly seen these multi-year now rises in auto insurance rates. This year, according to the CPI, I mean, again, like this is nationally. When you look at this, if you take a look at where auto insurance has gone on the CPI, you're still talking north of 15% annually. It's 16.3% over the last 12 months. If you look at Massachusetts, it's just a state that I have data for. Cost of auto insurance in Massachusetts is up by almost 38% in the last 2.5 years. So you're talking about just significant jumps in the cost there. And so the question that people are asking is, look, what can I do in order to manage that cost? And
there's no great answers, by the way.
No, there's nothing that's perfect. It's all, again, insurance is ultimately about managing risk. And so I think that if you look at it through that lens, you can find some different options. So first things that you can do, and again, this is something where you want to actually talk with your insurance agent to understand what you're doing and how your policy is set up, because there are a million different permutations. Number one, hey, do I want to think about changing my deductible on my auto insurance? If you're not familiar with what a deductible is and how it works, it's basically, look, how much do you have to pay out of pocket before the insurance takes up and covers the rest of it? So by raising that, you reduce the amount that insurance potentially has to cover, and so that helps to reduce your payment for said insurance. The downside is if you have an accident, you're on the hook for more money. That's kind of a problem.
Yeah.
Again,
there are other ways to reduce your coverage in other ways. You can,
you can get rid of certain coverages. So you might say, look, let's say that I have, insurance that right now covers, the cost of a replacement vehicle through a rental. You might say, well, maybe I don't need that for some reason, or I'll take the chance that I don't need that.
Right.
You might say, hey, I think I'm a good driver. Maybe I don't need, full collision insurance and can do limited collision such that, hey, if I'm the one who causes the accident, I'll have to pay for it. But if someone else causes it, I don't have to.
Is that even legal in Mass? That's the other thing to know about some of these things is that,
you're
state by state, there are different
confusing collision
rules.
with comprehensive.
Yeah, okay.
So there's all kinds of different things that you can do. There are some basic requirements that different states have in terms of, the different coverages that you need to have on a vehicle in order to operate it legally. But again, if your costs have been going up and you haven't actually, taken some time to look at the policy, preferably with an agent who can walk you through, like, what do all of these different things mean? Like, what the heck is optional bodily injury to, again, it's a little confusing when you look through the 15 different things that you can change. Take some time and actually talk to someone about this, because I'm not saying that you'll be able to, get your rates back to where they were 4 or 5 years ago, but maybe you can take, 5 to 10% off that premium somehow in a way that still doesn't put you too financially at risk and gives you a little bit of breathing room.
Yeah, I mean, where a lot of these insurers make a boatload of their money is that it's a sticky business. You don't generally change your insurers every couple of years, and that's how you can actually save money is by doing so and shopping it every few years. The other thing that this is resulting in, though, this is not a Massachusetts-only issue. Auto insurance rates across the country are through the roof. And Massachusetts is certainly not the worst of it either. Across the country, this is a big, big issue. There are a lot more uninsured drivers today out there, which I think is only legal in maybe New Hampshire. I think in all other 49 states, it is illegal to drive without car insurance. And, what that means is, more uninsured drivers out there, that's going to be a higher propensity for a hit and run. That's going to be a higher propensity for, damage to your vehicle that is not covered by somebody else's insurance, which is also going to drive up the cost of insurance for all of us who continue to buy policies out there.
Taking a look at markets as we head towards the bottom of the hour, the Dow now off 369 points, almost about 0.85%. S&P's down 37, about 2/3%, and the NASDAQ down 96 points, about 0.5%. 10-year U.S. Treasury now up 9.3 basis points to 4.164%. So you got stocks and bonds in sell-off mode today. And that's where we are as we head towards the bottom of the hour. Quick break here, trivia answer, and then we're talking home equity loans after this.
Bringing the latest financial news straight to your radio every day. It's the Financial Exchange on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Congress is poised to pass a bill to keep AM radio in cars. But time is running out. 82 million Americans risk losing the news, sports, talk, traffic, and vital emergency information they rely on. Text AM to 52886 and tell Congress to pass this bill now.
Message and data rates may apply. You may receive up to 4 messages a month, and you may text STOP to stop.
This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
Let's talk LDL. AKA bad cholesterol. The higher your LDL cholesterol, the higher your risk of a heart attack or stroke. Your health matters. Know your number. Talk to your doctor and get your cholesterol checked. And learn how to help lower your LDL bad cholesterol. Because your health is in your hands. Find out more at heart.org/LDL.
Fall is in full swing. The leaves are changing, the days are getting shorter, and the cold is inching closer. Don't let the prospect of darkness at 4 p.m. get you down, because your next incredible vacation is just a click away. The U.S. Virgin Islands are St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John. Enjoy one or all three and experience rich history, world-class cuisine, a wide variety of water sports, and the most pristine beaches anywhere in the world. Go to visitusvi.com and check out the American Caribbean, where you'll find all the information you need to book a trip you'll never forget. Upon arrival, you'll fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. Travel to and from New England is simple, and your stay will be hassle-free because this is the American Caribbean. There's no passport required and no money to exchange. Whether it's a romantic getaway or a family vacation, make your plans now to get out of the cold and head to America's Caribbean paradise. Go to visitusvi.com and book your trip of a lifetime today. That's visitusvi.com.
Hi, it's Chuck and Mike from the Armstrong Advisory Group, and we have a guide available this month titled Social Security and Taxes. Mike, when we talk about incorporating a Social Security strategy into a financial plan, what are some of the considerations?
Well, the consideration that everyone likes to focus on, and for good reason, is, hey, how do I maximize my benefits over my lifetime? If I live to a certain age, when's the best time for me to claim Social Security? Because obviously you have a wide range. You can start as early as 62, as late as age 70. And depending on how long you live, there's a calculation to figure out what would be the most benefits you would receive over your lifetime. But I would argue that for most folks, that's probably not the most important consideration to be making.
What is the most important one?
So I would be focusing on the impact of certain items to the success of your financial plan. So for example, if you look at your plan and say, wow, if I face a lot of inflation in retirement, maybe just because prices in general go up more than I anticipate, then delaying Social Security in order to get a larger base on which COLA is adjusted could be a really positive impact to your plan. On the other hand, if you have a shorter than normal life expectancy or a longer than normal life expectancy, both of those come into play as well when figuring out the appropriate time to claim that Social Security benefit.
Our guide this month is titled Social Security and Taxes, and the number to call to request it is 800-393-4001. Again, the guide that's available this month is called Social Security and Taxes, and the number to call to request it is 800-393-4001. 1-800-393-4001.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
Are you retired like me and you just found out you owe the IRS a ton of money? Well, what would your life be like if they took your retirement savings away from you? They can do it and your property. If you owe the IRS back taxes or you haven't filed in a while, the tax relief line is here to help you. They can stop the IRS from taking your retirement savings. If you qualify, you could have your tax bill reduced to zero. That's right. If you're retired and you owe the IRS a lot in back taxes, you could have your entire tax bill reduced to zero due. The IRS has now hired thousands of new employees, so they're ready to come after you. Don't let them take your retirement savings or property. Make this free call now.
800-251-2153. 800-251-2153. 800-251-2153. That's 800-251-2153.
Text us at 617-362-1385 with your comments and questions about today's show, and let us know what you think about the stories we are covering. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Trivia question today was, what candy bar does Joey from Friends obsess over? That'll be Toblerone. Toblerone was invented in 1908 in Switzerland. For a long time in the U.S., you only saw Toblerones at duty-free shops and airports. In the 1998 episode of Friends, the Toblerone received its best advertisement ever, appearing in a major role on the episode of Friends. Ryan from Westfield, Mass. is our winner today, taking home a Financial Exchange Show t-shirt, and Ryan's also registered to win a $100 gift card to Applebee's, which we'll give away on Friday's show. And trivia is brought to you by Applebee's. Enjoy half-price late-night appetizers after 9 p.m. and join Club Applebee's to enjoy exclusive deals and specials. You'll get a free appetizer just for signing up. Now that's eating good in the neighborhood. Void where prohibited is what he tried to say.
You got it. You got it.
Dine in only. Jeez.
Folks, I want to talk to you about the live broadcast coming right up here on the Financial Exchange. It's going to be Thursday of this week. It's October 24th, just a few days out. We're doing it down on Cape Cod in Hyannis at the Doubletree Resort and Suites. Come check it out. We're going to be doing a live broadcast of the show. You can drop in, ask your questions. We'll then be hosting a free lunch and seminar at the Doubletree Resort and Suites in Hyannis. That's, again, Thursday, October 24th. Joining us will be Ed Lambert from the XTK morning show. And after the show, we're going to be sticking around for an hour or two and just really doing a kind of live Q&A. We've done this a few times in the past, and it's always a pretty good time and really an interactive piece here where we have plenty of things that we would talk about, but that's what the show is for. We do that every day for 2 hours. We really want to field your questions about the state of the economy, about political promises that are being made on the campaign trail, and just where this whole thing might be going down the road and where you should be focused heading into 2025. If you would like to register, like I said, only a few days left here. You can go to armstrongadvisory.com/events. Again, it's Thursday, October 24th. Live broadcast of the show, followed by a free lunch from the Armstrong Advisory Group. It's a Doubletree Resort and Suites. You can go to armstrongadvisory.com/events or give us a call at 800-393-4001.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
Piece from the New York Times here. It's the second one that I've seen, not from them, but second one on the topic of home equity lines of credit in the last maybe 2 or 3 weeks. And it's talking about how balances on home equity lines of credit have risen along with home equity loans. And basically, this actually, I think, gets at the fact that, hey, this is a good thing that you're seeing right now in that it's not the excess borrowing of 2004 through 2007 that you're seeing.
Well, explain that, because a lot of people would probably associate something like this, a floating rate mortgage on their home, a second mortgage on their home, as precisely that.
So, a couple things on this. You're exactly right in that a home equity line of credit is a again, basically a second mortgage
Usually.
on a home.
Yeah.
And it is a floating rate loan. The key difference, as opposed to like some of the second mortgages that were taken out previously, are twofold. The first is the regulations and even desire to provide the scale of loans that were provided back in 2004 through 2007, dramatically different. Back then, you'd be like, hey, give me a second mortgage up to 110% the value of my home, and the bank would be like, how about 120%? Today, most of the time, in order to get the best rates, you're limited to under 60 or 70%, and most lenders limit you to under 85% total in terms of the amount that you can borrow against the value of your home. So that's number one. Number two, if you're trying to deduct that home equity line of credit interest on your taxes, the only way that you can do that is if you actually have proof that you are doing a home improvement project and not buying a boat, car, or anything else not associated with the home with it. So that's another piece there. Also, when we look at the overall level of equity in homes compared to the pre-financial crisis era, far greater levels of equity as well, and far lower default rates going in. So you look at just about any factor that would lead you to be concerned about this type of behavior, and you're just not there. So this is one thing. I think this is a great example of, hey, just because you read certain words on a page doesn't mean that those need to be words that make you nervous. You have to look at the overall context, and in the context of this housing market and these levels of housing-related debt and foreclosure and so on and so forth, there's not really anything here that concerns me. It's not in my top, 30, 40 list of things that keep me up at night.
And home equity lines of credit or home equity loans are actually what makes a lot of sense in this environment, because it means you're probably sticking with your first mortgage at that lower rate. Whereas in years past, you might have done a cash out refinance to do that project. That's just not attractive right now with rates where they are. And so the home equity line, while it has its potential dangers and risks, is a perfectly logical solution to cash needs at this point in time.
I want to talk about this piece from the Wall Street Journal that I think is just a great piece that unfortunately is going to result in nothing happening.
True.
It's titled, "It's Time to Bring 401ks into the 21st Century." And what it talks about are a couple really basic things. Hey, every time you leave a job, you go to a new place and there's a new 401k, and you got to either do the work of rolling it over or you leave it there, and then you forget about it and you don't know where it is, and you can't get the statements because they're mailing them to your old address, and then you die and someone has to go on some website to figure out if you accidentally left money behind, and it's this whole thing. And this is before you even get into like investment options and fees and stuff like that.
Right. If you haven't had experience with this, like any investment advisor by default has worked on 401ks a fair bit in one way or another, and sometimes it's a fairly simple process where you just tell them like, oh, I'm at this new employer and I want to roll it over. And even in the most simplest format, they still have to send you a massive check for your balance, and then you have to go redeposit at the new company. So that's the easiest type of solution. In less easy solutions, they may require you to print out a form that might be 10 pages long. You might need to send that to your HR department.
Then get it notarized, and
may or may not have contact information for who that HR person is anymore. They need to, oftentimes, like Chuck said, get it notarized. It can be a genuine, real hassle, and is not surprising to me that there are abandoned 401ks, 403bs, 457s all over the place. And for, whatever reason, this is also far worse of a problem usually from what I see with hospitals, teachers, public institutions tend to be far worse on this type of thing than private organizations for, again, I'm not really sure why.
So the ideas that are talked about in here are kind of a couple different ones. The first is, hey, can you, add some level of portability to 401ks such that if you move from one job to the next, you don't necessarily need to change your account? And the answer is, look, in theory you can, but the actual mechanics of how 401k plans work under ERISA means that you basically can't under that umbrella the way it's currently constructed. It's just not built to do that because the plan is administered by the employer.
Yep.
And why would the employer be like, yes, you left and I'm still going to have the liability of, making sure that you're contributing from somewhere else into this plan? No, there's a whole mess there. The other thing, if we just talk about logistical items, remember that as part of the Secure Act 2.0, which passed 2 years ago now, beginning in 2 years, if you are in the super catch-up area of age 60 to 63, employers will be required to allow you to make that contribution. Basically, employers will be required to require you to make that contribution through a Roth 401k. Employers are having, plan custodians are having so much trouble doing this. This was originally supposed to go into effect this year, and they pushed it back 2 years because they were like, that change is too hard. Now, is there a perfect world where, hey, when I go into a new employer, in addition to giving them my direct deposit account information, I give them my, personal 401k information and they do my retirement deposits there and call it a day? Sure, but as long as I'm dreaming, I'd like a purple and pink pony, and that's just not happening, unfortunately.
Well, let's be clear about some of this. I mean, some of these are self-interested, right? Like if you are
a custodian,
custodian, you don't want the money to leave you.
No.
You make money on it. But there's also a good chunk that's set up here in this way for security reasons. And
ERISA does exist for some really good reasons as well.
Well, you don't just necessarily want to be able to give your new employer your information and they be able to roll your money out of your old plan and just put it into the new one. That represents a bunch of theft concerns on my view. Anything that you do in the space to make this easier opens it up to scams too. Right? It wouldn't be that difficult for me to register a business and say, oh, yeah, I'm Chuck Zodda, and I want my 401k rolled over here. And if it's an automatic process, again, there are ways around this, but it's going to require a pretty big investment that I see zero appetite for. And
Correct.
So where at least people in the meantime is navigating what is admittedly, even from somebody that works in the industry, a very confusing area of personal finance.
The biggest thing that I would do just to make things easier for people, look, we've got 8 trillion different, there's not actually that many. There's 8 different types of retirement accounts. Maybe a dozen.
More.
There's maybe a couple dozen.
Yeah.
I mean, if you
get into add up all the names of them,
if you're getting all the really
dozen.
weird stuff that's out there, there's probably a couple dozen. There should be one.
Yep. They should make the rules the same across the board.
Hey, this is the 401z plan, and regardless of who you're working for, how you're working, whatever it is, this is how much you can contribute. You can choose if you want, the traditional or Roth version. I think that's basically the only option I would give. And other than that, have at it.
Yeah.
By the way, why does Roth get all the publicity in terms of the traditional IRA isn't named after anyone, but no one even knows who Roth is.
Yeah. Is a senator or a member of the House? I don't remember.
Couldn't tell you.
I think he's a senator. It's a dead senator now. But
it's someone who was in Congress.
Yeah.
But why did they get all? Is that the only person who came up with this?
They could also. Last thing on this. The IRS could make it a lot easier to find stuff that's been lost. They're the only group that's getting reports on all this stuff every year. Hey, if you have a 401k, they're required to send a notification to the IRS every single year. And so while we're talking about all this, IRS, you could make it a little bit easier for me to discover where exactly any of my stuff is in case I lose it. I think a lot of blame lands on you if you lose a $10,000 or any dollar 401k. So I'm not trying to get people out of this entirely, but it does happen, and they can make it a little bit easier to track down.
Let's take a quick break here. When we return, Stack Roulette.
This is your home for the most comprehensive coverage of the economy and the trends on Wall Street. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network. Fall is in full swing. The leaves are changing, the days are getting shorter, and the cold is inching closer. Don't let the prospect of darkness at 4 p.m. get you down, because your next incredible vacation is just a click away. The U.S. Virgin Islands are St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John. Enjoy one or all 3 and experience rich history, world-class cuisine, a wide variety of water sports, and the most pristine beaches anywhere in the world. Go to visitusvi.com and check out the American Caribbean, where you'll find all the information you need to book a trip you'll never forget. Upon arrival, you'll fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. Travel to and from New England is simple, and your stay will be hassle-free because this is the American Caribbean. There's no passport required and no money to exchange. Whether it's a romantic
weeknight getaway, or a family vacation. Make your plans now to get out of the cold and head to America's Caribbean paradise. Go to visitusvi.com and book your trip of a lifetime today. That's visitusvi.com. Spouses generally serve as the beneficiary to your IRA or life insurance policy. But naming your estate the beneficiary has quite a few benefits. Cushing & Dolan are experts in elder law, and they can help you protect your assets from probate and the nursing home. By naming your estate as a beneficiary, you can avoid the probate process, lessen the chance of creating any income tax issues on your RMDs, and enjoy enhanced estate tax reduction. Call Cushing & Dolan right now at 866-848-5699 and ask for their brand new guide called Why Name Your Estate an IRA Beneficiary. Learn about these benefits and others and provide peace of mind for you and your family during your retirement years. That number again is 866-848-5699. Or you can request the guide online by visiting our website at LegalExchangeShow.com. That's LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. Every single day, more than 2,000 U.S. companies face a cyber threat or attack. The Boston Red Sox in Fenway Park chose Centripetal as their official cyber network security partner to ensure the protection of their network and ballpark. Intelligence is the answer to protecting your network, and Centripetal is the global leader of intelligence-powered cybersecurity. The choice is yours. Are you going to be another one of those attacked companies? Or are you ready to experience a radical new cybersecurity solution? Find out why the Red Sox chose Centripetal at www.centripetal.ai.
This Veterans Day weekend, help honor all who have served this country. Join us on Saturday, November 9th for the 9th Annual Disabled American Veterans 5K Boston, proudly presented by Veterans Development Corporation. It's a run and walk to support the DAV Department of Massachusetts. Saturday, November 9th at DCR's Castle Island in South Boston. Let's honor all who have sacrificed for our freedom. Register or donate now at dav5k.boston. That's dav5k.boston.
It happens all over Massachusetts.
Can you tie my shoes?
In every home and every community.
Be careful on your bike.
Learning can happen anytime, anywhere.
We'll see you at practice this weekend.
And no matter how learning takes place in your family's life, DESE is there as your partner. The Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. Never stop learning. Find out more at mass.gov/back-to-school.
Sponsored by the Massachusetts Department for Elementary and Secondary Education.
As a busy mom to 4 kids, my to-do list is full.
Trying to fit in exercise, eating right, and prioritizing self-care can feel next to impossible.
While we can't add more hours to the day, we do have a great resource to help.
Go Red for Women has easy tips, tools, and information to help you and your family live a healthier life.
So to all the moms, the aunts, grandmothers, and amazing women out there doing it all,
visit goredforwomen.org/momlife today.
You take care of them, Go Red for Women will take care of you.
Find daily interviews and full shows of the Financial Exchange on our YouTube page. Get caught up on anything and everything you might have missed. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
The ultimate Boston sports auction to benefit the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts is coming soon. Your chance to see the world champion Celtics, the Bruins, the Red Sox, and the Patriots, plus autographed merch from Pedro Martinez, Kristaps Porzingis, Brandon Carlo, and much more. One massive auction, 4 incredible experiences, and all to benefit the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. The auction begins November 4th at 11 a.m. That's Monday, November 4th at 11 a.m. Keep it here on the Financial Exchange and help support our great American heroes.
Mike, what do you got for Stack Roulette?
America's continued loneliness epidemic is taking new form in a talking pet caller, which is kind of like a chatbot for your dog, I guess, which... I mean, again, fun idea. You strap it to your dog's neck, just like, was it The Incredibles where they have the talking dogs?
No, that was Up.
In Up, they have the talking dogs. Thank you. Yep, you're right. And it will talk back to you. You can speak to your dog, and it will have a pre-recorded voice that speaks back to you. So from what I can tell, it is doing nothing to read into gestures or behavior from the dog in order to interpret it. Just kind of a fun toy, it seems like. It's going to be called the Shazam, which is not related to the superhero movie with
Shazam?
Shazam.
Shaq.
No,
Shaq,
that's
right?
Kazam.
Oh,
That's
I don't know.
Kazam.
I don't know.
Shazam was another one that came
yeah.
out more recently, like 10 years ago or so.
Yeah.
I heard it was terrible.
Yeah. Okay. Probably had The Rock in it.
No, it didn't have The Rock.
I'm seeing good reviews there.
For Shazam?
Yeah.
No.
Zachary Levi?
Sure. Fine.
I don't know. If you
Throw
can
it on a
find,
pile of DVDs to watch.
again, if you can find a product that is meant to specifically address the American loneliness epidemic, these things are like $200.
More than that.
Oh my God! Collar starts at $495 for cats and $595 for dogs. There's also subscription fees of $195 a year for the cat and or $295 for the Brain Boost service, which a rep for Shazam says is, quote, what brings all the truly sentient qualities such as empathy, reasoning, social awareness, and self-awareness. What?
I'm sorry, but we're kind of starting to reach peak stupid here. And here's
we reach peak stupid.
No. Here's the problem with peak stupid is
keep exceeding
every
everything.
time you think you're there, there's
gets
more.
worse. Yeah,
I saw one. I can't find it right now. I was looking for it because I saw it this morning. It's a service. It's an AI service that basically like monitors your parents' phones and emails and stuff like that, and then sends you an alert if it thinks they're feeling like lonely and you need to reach out to them. And I can't think of anything more soul-sucking and dystopian than having to spend, like, someone actually making the decision, like, oh, I'm going to spend money on a service to make sure my parents aren't lonely, instead of, I don't know, maybe spending time with your parents yourself, you ungrateful little whatever.
I can.
What?
That exact same service, except rather than telling you that they're lonely, it's just an AI that pretends that it's you and calls them.
This chats with them anyways to, like, see how they're doing. Like, it's
so we're pretty close.
It's pretty darn close to it.
Yeah.
And I just... the problems that we're now trying to solve are going to take away the last remaining vestiges that we have of being human.
Mm-hmm.
We're heading for a really dark place when it's, hey, AI, take care of my parents so I can order more DoorDash.
Yeah.
Like,
that is where we're heading.
I can't tell you.
The loneliness epidemic is going to be treated by AI chatbots, which are going to make us more lonely.
Mike, we're heading for freaking I didn't know that WALL-E was a documentary.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Sorry, I can't be bothered because I got 8 screens in front of my face. I don't want to get up. Bring me the food.
Watched WALL-E the other day.
Does it hold up well?
Holds up very well.
Does it?
Kiddos love it. Yeah.
In a terrifying sort of way, though.
Yeah.
WALL-E.
Eva. It's a good one.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. I enjoy it. Wally, how you doing over there?
Oh boy.
Wally, do you ever buy any lottery tickets?
Eva.
Lottery Eva.
All right.
Anyways, Mega Millions. Speaking of dystopian, lottery ticket prices going from $2 to $5. Talk about inflation. You're jacking prices up by 150% on the Mega Millions.
This is a big story.
Here's the reason why. Americans don't start buying now until it's over $1 billion, and so this will get it over $1 billion faster. So you can have more larger jackpots.
Yeah.
Because everyone likes to be like, hey, I'm going to be the one who wins that, when really, you're not.
And also, even just the fantasy of winning $1 billion versus $500 million, does anyone have a meaningfully different dream on one versus the other?
Well,
so confused.
You could lose both pretty easily.
Yeah.
You know, I bet it's actually fairly easy to spend your way through that if you really want to.
Yeah.
You know,
quickly.
Let's take a quick break for the rest of the day. We'll see you tomorrow on the Financial Exchange.